Hello and welcome back. Basketball season is almost upon us, and today I want to take an in-depth look at NC State as they head into the new season. There's a lot of new names, a lot of new faces, a lot of new pieces to fit together. So as I'm looking at this team for the coming year, how I'm going to do it, I'm not going to try and predict a rotation or how many minutes each guy is going to get. I'm going to try to take a step back and really just illustrate the types of buckets that guys can make an impact in. And that can come in a few ways. Like, who are the guys who are going to be impact shooters or can provide impact shooting for this team? Who are going to be the folks that State's going to rely on to be playmakers on the offensive end? Who can they try to mix and match to throw at the other team's best players on defense and really try to hamper what they're trying to do? And I think that's going to give you a good idea of what to expect, of the type of different contributions you're going to get from a team that has really been put together over the past 6 months and are going to start playing meaningful games together for the first time in just a week or so. So sit back, take some stuff in. I'm going to have some video for you to watch on some of the new guys as well. But we're really going to look at NC State and see what they're going to be able to do and what you can expect as a fan over the next season. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be looking at what are the different categories guys are going to make an impact in. You'll see some guys in different categories, or you're going to see them more than once, I should say, throughout the video. But where I want to start off is, who is State going to have on the floor that can be a shooter? Who's someone they can rely on? Who are the folks that are going to build a team of capable shooters? Let's talk for a second about NC State's shooting last year. Now, it was a team that only had two individuals that shot and made over 53 pointers last year. One of those guys was DJ Horn. Another of those guys was Jaden Taylor. Now, DJ Horn was far and away the most productive three-point shooter, and they're not going to have a guy who's going to make as many shots as he did. And that's completely fine. They're going to have Jaden Taylor back. That's going to be helpful, but they did bring in a lot of really good shooters in this class. Now, when you look at this incoming group of shooters, there are some really high-quality options that State brought in. So you have Dontrez Styles coming from Georgetown, who made 49 threes last year. Mike James coming in from Louisville, who made 36. And Paul McNeil, a high school recruit, who really was a very capable shooter and might be one of the best pure shooting high school recruits in the nation. And, there's really not just to mention that State has other guys who are going to be able to knock down threes at times. Like, I think Ben Middlebrooks is a guy who's going to hit some threes. I think Brandon Huntley Hatfield is someone who's going to be able to knock down the occasional three-point jumper. And Mike O'Connell really showed in the tournament that he can shoot as well. But I think these three, plus Jaden Taylor, are going to be the guys you rely on to be knockdown shooters night in and night out. So with that being said, let's take a look at some highlights of these three. So Paul McNeil has an advanced jump shot that he can get off from a variety of different ways. He can pull up off the dribble, as you see in some of these clips. He can catch it coming off screens. I think he's going to play a lot. I think he's going to shoot a lot. I think he's going to be very good this year. Dontrez Styles is someone who's going to come in and provide a lot of that catch and shooting role that you've seen Casey Morsell fill over the few years. He's a matchup problem. He's going to have bigger defenders on him at times, and he's going to make defenses pay for sagging off. So Mike James is just a very efficient shooter. He runs hard. When this team gets out in transition, he's going to be a target just because he is going full speed to the corner and to the wing and can take really effortless jumpers. I think he's going to fit in really well with the system overall. Now, next, I want to focus on who's going to be playmakers, who are going to be the guys that Kevin Keatts are going to trust with the ball in their hands to make plays and make things happen. So I think by and large, NC State is really going to rely on two guys to be the primary playmakers for this team. So you have Michael O'Connell and Marcus Hill, and they're really going to operate in different ways. O'Connell is just a point guard of days gone by. He controls the offense. He controls the pace of the game. He's really just making sure that the team is operating in a way that a coach wants to run, and that's really invaluable and doesn't show up a ton in the stat sheet. Now he can, score at the rim at times. He's adept at getting in the lane and making the right pass, and that's all great. Marcus Hill is a little bit of a different animal. He can get into the paint
really be crafty around the rim, score in a variety of ways off of the bounce. And again, that's really valuable and something that Kevin Keatts has had in the past and has been super successful with. Now, all of this to say, there are going to be other guys who contribute here. Dontrez Styles is someone who can score off the bounce. I think some of the other guards are going to get opportunities. I think some of the bigs will get opportunities to do the same thing. But for the most part, you're going to have one of these two guys controlling the offense at all times, with maybe a bit of Jaden Taylor sprinkled in.
Now we're going to shift our attention to the big men. Now I'm going to lump them into this category and try to focus on guys who I think can be impact contributors in one way or another. So we're going to go through the top 3 to 4 options at this spot, talk about what they're going to bring to the table, what you can expect, and where they're going to excel or where they should excel when they're on the court.
NC State is going to have a very talented big man rotation next year. So they're going to have a lot of quality options to choose from. So you have new addition in Brendan Huntley Hatfield, who I think is going to be the top dog there. He is extremely skilled. He has shown some ability to hit threes in his career. He can score in the post. He can do a few things off of the dribble. I really like his game overall. And I think when you're replacing a post scorer like DJ Burns, it's nice to have some continuity and a guy who can do some similar things, but at the same time bring a different element to the game as well. So I think he's going to be the one who plays the most out of this, but is probably the one who brings the most varied skill set to the table. I think everyone knows what State has in Ben Middlebrooks. He's also, more talented than many, think or know about. I think he might even shoot some threes this year. I know he has shown the ability to do that in the past. He's a very capable defender, very versatile, can get on the perimeter and defend out there as well and switch, which is something State likes to do a lot. So I think you're going to see, him have a very solid spot in the rotation as well. Then you have other guys who are going to be competing for minutes at one of the 2 spots for big men. So Ismail Diouf, who came, in as a late addition from Canada, I think he brings some stuff that none of these other guys do. He's going to be very versatile, can score from the perimeter, can rebound at a very high rate for someone his size, and is an athletic in a way that is more dynamic than maybe these other 4 are. And then Dennis Parker showed a lot last year. He got a lot of playing time and can do some really interesting things and is probably one of the more capable ball handlers of this group. So I think you're going to see him getting a spot or getting minutes as well. But what's really going to complicate this whole thing, and we'll get into this more when we talk about the different defensive rotations and defensive lineups you can put out there, but you're going to have some guys who are bigger guards who are going to play a good amount at the 4 spot. So whether that be Dontrez Styles or even if it's a Mike James shifting down or a Paul McNeil who's shifting down against smaller teams, you're just going to have, um, a lot of different options and a lot of different components you can play together. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out. But as of right now, I think these are your 4 core guys at your big man spots.
Lastly, I wanted to talk about defense for a minute. So State's going to, have a lot of options. There's more guys than last year who are going to be able to make contributions on the defensive side of the ball. So I want to talk around the strengths of each of those guys, where you might see them factor in, and how the team might play together defensively.
So just for a second, I really want to talk about the defensive versatility that NC State's going to bring to the table next year. Everyone in this picture are guys who I consider to have above average defensive abilities. And there's a lot of them. And that's not even including some of the guys I think possess some potential for that, like a Paul McNeil. But when you're looking at, at this collection of players, there are a lot of big men, there are a lot of guards, there are a lot of big guards. So State's gonna be able to really answer whatever opposing teams try to do to make the situation tricky for NC State. If a team decides to go small, for instance, NC State can run out a lineup of O'Connell, Taylor, James, Styles, and Huntley Hatfield. Or if they want to go big, you can throw in a couple bigs in that lineup. I think Dennis Parker is going to be a bit of a swing man. Juf could be somebody who is, thrown in there in a variety of different spots or roles. You could run a lineup of just four regular guards and not even, worry about a big guard position. And all of these guys, I think, are going to be able to lock down on ball, which is, something that I don't know if State's had this type of defensive depth or versatility. And then, what's really exciting about this is when you look at the NCAA tournament last run and they're running the ACC tournament, State went into this defensive scheme where they were switching everything. And they're really going to be able to put out lineups onto the court next year where they're doing just that, where they're going to switch every single ball screen. And you're not going to be in any kind of position of liability when you do that. There's not going to be anyone on the floor that's going to be able to be exploited. So, if you're looking at this as a defensive minded coach, it's exciting. You're licking your chops at some of the stuff that you're going to be able to send out onto the court. So I think this, is shaping up or has the potential on paper to be the best defensive NC State team that we've seen in some time.
So that's it for our preview of NC State for this coming year. I hope you appreciated it. I hope you got something out of it. I think it's a very exciting team. As we've talked about, there's going to be more shooters on the court, or the opportunity for more shooters to be on the court on this year's team. There might not be someone that is as high caliber as a DJ Horn, like we mentioned, but in aggregate, you'll make it up. Defensively, there's a ton of options. State's going to be able to play the matchup game to a very high level. There's going to be opportunities for a ton of switching to go on the court. Defensively, it could be a very exciting team to watch. The big man rotation, very solid. A lot of good options that can bring some different dynamics to the game. And from a playmaking perspective, you have enough to keep the engine running. So I think when you look at a team and try to evaluate their ceiling, NC State's a team that's going to have a pretty high one. I know they're not loved in most of the polls across the nation in the preseason, but I think a higher than middle of the pack finish should be expected and should be what people are hoping for going into the year. It's a crowded ACC, but I think State's a team that's going to be able to make some noise, finish higher than projected, and to me, when I'm looking at it, it's a for sure NCAA tournament team. So again, I hope you appreciated it. It was nice to have you guys here today. Hope to see you back on the next one.